women in uniform, and we ask that you protect them as they are in harm's way. We'd like to pray for those in Minnesota with the tragedy that just happened over the last few days. We'd like to ask that you give us understanding, wisdom, and patience. Amen.
Amen. All right. Commissioner Whitman, will you lead us in our Pledge of Allegiance?
Please join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I recognize we do have a quorum. Commissioner Thomas is not feeling well. He will not be present today. And I understand that we may have some technical difficulties regarding our video with the meeting, so just wanted to put that on note. Members of the board, you have the agenda before you. Is there any discuss an adjustment of the agenda? Having heard none, do I have a motion to approve the agenda? I also want to add the addition of the Person County Schools request for lottery project application approval from the Public School Building Repair and Renovations Fund to be added to the consent agenda. All in favor of the motion, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. The motion's approved. Item 5A, proclamation honoring Susan Claire Bailey. Commissioner Wilburn.
Thank you. This item was brought forward to our agenda by Vice Chairman Thomas. I really appreciate him doing that. We have so many great things going on in our community, and this is something I've wanted to see us bring back as recognition of what's happening in our community. And with that, I'll go ahead and read the proclamation. Whereas Distinguished Young Women, founded in 1958, is the oldest and largest national scholarship program for high school girls and has provided life-changing experiences for more than 780,000 women across the country, awarding more than $122 million in cash scholarships at the local, state, and national levels. And whereas Distinguished Young Women empowers young women to reach their full potential by providing scholarship opportunities for college as well as personal development to become confident leaders. And whereas Distinguished Young Women strives to give every young woman the opportunity to further her education and prepare for a successful future. And whereas it is with great pleasure and pride that we recognize and honor the exceptional achievements of Susan Claire Bailey, a 2025 graduate of Roxborough Community School, who will be attending UNC Chapel Hill, majoring in psychology in the fall, who has brought pride and distinction to our community. And whereas Susan Claire Bailey's dedication, determination, and unwavering commitment to excellence have resulted in her winning preliminary awards in judges interview, talent, self-expression, fitness, overall scholastics, and the Young Entrepreneur Award before being named the Distinguished Young Woman of Roxborough in September 2024. And whereas Susan Claire Bailey is the first Personian to win state title since 1996, Susan Claire Bailey was awarded preliminaries in scholastics, fitness, and overall talent before being honored as the Distinguished Young Woman of North Carolina in January 2025, advancing her to represent North Carolina at the National Distinguished Young Women Finals in Mobile, Alabama, June 26 through 28, 2025. Now, therefore, the Person County Board of Commissioners celebrates and honors Susan Claire Bailey and calls upon all citizens to offer congratulations and recognition to Susan Claire Bailey for her remarkable talents, skills, and achievements. Adopted the 16th day of June, 2025. Susan Claire, would you come up to the podium? I had the privilege of being on the interview panel during the program and attended the program, and I can tell you all, if you weren't there, she definitely is deserving of this recognition.
Thank you.
All right. Members of the board, you heard the proclamation. Do I have a motion to approve said proclamation?
So moved.
We have a motion. Any discussion? All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Proclamation's been approved. And after the signature of the clerk, we'd like to present this to Susan. Ma'am, if you would come up. On behalf of Person County, congratulations. Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
All right. Item number 6, informal comments. Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. We do have 2 individuals signed up. However, we have had another lady approach me that would like to be added on.
All right, so we will have this is a 10-minute session. Please address the board only, not the audience, and address the board as a whole, not individual commissioners. We have 3.
Yes.
I'm sorry, if one other person as well that came in with me.
So,
Nancy Howard, so
4,
four.
okay? 4, and it will be 2.5 minutes will be appropriate. All right, 2.5 minutes.
yes, sir.
Do we have a timer ready? Or, okay?
Thank you. First speaker we have is Alan Whitlow.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Alan Whitlow, President, Persons Veterans Council. I know all of you, I believe. We're just here today, since you guys partnered with us to bring the Wall to Hills to Person County. We figured the least you deserve was a report out on how we think that went. So, the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund told us to expect in the neighborhood of 7,000 visitors as far as the impact. When they left that Sunday, they told us that they had estimated over 13,000 visitors to the Wall to Hills. So we couldn't have done that without the support of the county, without the support of this board. So I wanted to come say thank you first, and to tell you that, you know, there's no way I can quantify the economic impact, but I can tell you the human impact was huge that week. And I think one of our Vietnam veterans is here with me, and I think he probably wouldn't mind saying a couple of words before I run out of time.
Okay.
But that's why I wanted to come today, is to say thank you and to give that report.
Thank you.
Well, first off, I'm not prepared for this. I appreciate everything that the county has done for us, the support that we got from the sheriff's department, the county, the government, everywhere. It was a great experience, but it's not only for me. It's for the families of the Person County that lost their individuals. It also gives a little closure to some of the individuals, and for some of us, a little more closure. There's probably some of the families or some of the family members that have not been able to see anything like this, to travel to Washington or to see the traveling wall around different places. But anyway, so that's really all I got to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And we have a small token of our appreciation we want to present to the board. Ronnie, you want to say anything before you get that?
Just real quick, for the travel aspect, we had people from Minnesota, Wisconsin, Upper New York, Washington, D.C., West Virginia, and Southern South Carolina that we were able to talk to that came to Person County just for the Wall of the Hills. But we're going to present this to the county, to the chairman. On the back, it's got our location on there, and so far we have been the poster children for this year's tour. And Mr. Horton is going to present the chairman a custom-made challenge coin that we gave out 991 to Vietnam veterans when they were here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for the support.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So thank you all.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
The next speaker we have is Beverly Cates.
Good morning. My name is Beverly Cates. I live at 806 South Main Street, Roxborough, North Carolina, 27573. I know most of the board members. So I've grown up in Person County, and I graduated class of 1997. Fast forward 28 years. I am now raising a 14-year-old son in the same county. In my day, there was no Palace Point. There was no public pool. I recognize today is a day where there are a lot of people here in support of a public pool. Fast forward, we have a Palace Point and we have a new sportsplex, but still no public pool. And plans are underway to invest in trails from Durham to Person County and a splash pad and pickleball courts, but still no public pool. While the idea of a splash pad seems fitting, most parents understand that splash pads are most appropriate for preschool and elementary age children. Is this a resource that would be available to adolescents and adults? In a resource-strapped town, why are there not public hearings to get resident feedback on how and where to spend taxpayer dollars? In a county that is pushing for businesses to invest here, for people to come here, we've done very little in the 28 years since I've graduated high school to provide resources for the citizens of this county. And it shows. I'll speak shortly towards the JCPC budget, and that's also an area where we've also addressed many times the fact that adolescents in this county, and I'll say specifically the 13, maybe the 12 to 17 year age cohort, there are no resources available to them, and any resources that are available are resources that have to be paid for. My son and I, we drive to Orange and Vance County to use the public pools there and pay to do so, and we buy annual memberships to Emerald Point in Guilford County, and all because Person County has no resources. So, residents are willing to put money into this county, but the county is still not willing to put money into the resources for the residents of the county. And with Person County being home to Hyco and Mayo Lake, there's an urgent need to provide a safe swimming resource where youth and adults can learn how to swim. I propose funding that is budgeted for the splash pad and pickleball courts be reinvested into a pool that this community has long requested and definitely needs. That's it for me. Thank you.
Next speaker, please. If you could please state your name for the record.
Amanda Wallace. And so I'm standing here today, once again, because I want you to make sure you do not forget Kimari Morgan. And I know that you guys are aware of what happened, but for anyone in the room that does not know, Kimari is a 1-year-old child that died in the custody of Person County. Died in your custody, as if it was your child, because you currently govern social services. It's your responsibility to do something here. And yet you have not. And so I wanted to take a moment to really introduce myself. No, I'm not trying to, I don't want to be here today. I don't want to be here in front of you. I could be in my bed. But I'm here because this should shake all of us. When children die, something has to change. Something has to change. So I worked in this state for 10 years as a CPS investigator. I filed petitions. I've written court orders. I've placed children with their relatives. And so that's what gives me the authority to sit in front of you to tell you that what's happening here is a problem. And I don't know who's advising you, but they are not advising you very well. Because every moment that what happened to Kimari? You can't answer that question. Zariah, his 2-year-old sister, is still not home. And each and every one of you know. And you're not doing anything. I saw you, Mr. Long, you're new to this seat. And at the June 6th meeting,
Ma'am,
you said,
please advise the board, not individual commissioners.
okay, well now you know I'm talking to you. He said, what we gonna do about social services? And your other board member said you needed a buffer. There's no buffer right now. Zariah's still not home. Right now, Brianna Morgan, her mom, wants to be here. But guess what? She's in a supervised visit down the street at y'all's social services, AKA baby jail, visiting with her daughter. So she can't be here right now. Today, Zariah needs to be with her family. Make it happen. You have placement authority. You don't need a judge. You do not need a judge. You better advise your attorneys.
Next speaker, please. please state your name for the record?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Queen Alicia Hammond. I'm running for United States Senate in 2026. I already ran in 2022. I am here with this group here, Operation Stop CPS. I know that we started with prayer, and so I would like y'all to try to do what God would want you to do, because if you don't, you're living a lie, and God sees evil. And you also celebrated this young lady right here for her great accolades or whatever she did. That baby that died, he could have been great as well. So if they need to at least tell her what happened to him. The second thing is the daughter that they still have, she still has life and she still has potential. Like y'all kids, y'all grandkids, your family members, everything. The three gentlemen who stood up, who said they represented family and it was a human impact and all these things that they did wherever they was with the veteran, that don't exclude black people and black children. That's everybody. So when y'all make y'all decision, I live in Raleigh. So, but I came to support them. When y'all make y'all decision, remember God is watching you. And you got to pay for everything that you do. And if you're going to speak about human impact, if you're going to speak about God, then you better make sure you speak it and you're living in truth. Because black people are tired. And you see how Trump got these people blowing stuff up and doing all of this and all of that? We don't want that. North Carolina is beautiful. So I'm just asking to just do the right thing and be as if it was your child, your family member, somebody that you cared about, because this person matters. And the lady deserves answers for her children. That's all I gotta say.
Mr. Chairman, that concludes our informal comment period.
Members, item number 7, members of the board, you have the consent agenda before you. Is there any discussion or adjustment of the consent agenda?
Move for approval with the adding the previous item you mentioned.
Right, so noted. We have a motion on the floor. Any further discussion? Haven't heard none. All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. The consent agenda is approved. Item 8A, Human Services Project report. Brian Hart.
Good morning, Board of Commissioners. How are you all doing? Back in April of 2024, following consolidation, the board made the decision to enlist the services of CCR Consultant to assist with an assessment and evaluation of our DSS, our Department of Social Services, and to also assist the Board of Commissioners with kind of acclimating to their new role as the Human Services Board, and of course to also assist me in my new role at the time of Human Services Director. So CCR, particularly Sherry Brasher, is here today to present on their final report, which has been provided to the board. Included in the report that Sherry will report on, there are several recommendations, many of which myself and the administrative staff at DSS have already begun to implement. A couple of those which I'd like to just share with the board, so that you all have an awareness of kind of the strides and the inroads that we've already begun to make, include we've begun to restructure the Department of Social Services a bit, and that includes having the Human Services Evaluator position reporting directly to me. That helps with accountability and ensuring that I have more direct lines of communication with staff who are actually processing cases and such. Another strategy that we've implemented in the wake of the assessment and evaluation is that we've begun hosting quarterly meetups with agencies throughout the community, and we've also opened up these quarterly meetings for community members who are interested. And the purposes of these quarterly meetings, which we call a Huddle Up with Human Services, is to provide these partner agencies as well as community members with greater insight related to the policies, the statutes, and some of the best practices that govern the work of the Department of Social Services, Veteran Services, and the Health Department as well. So those are just a couple of the recommendations that are referenced or alluded to within CCR's report, which you'll hear a little bit more about at this time. So at this time, I welcome Sherry Bratcher with CCR Consulting. I would also point out that should you have any questions, both myself and DSS Director Carlton Paylor are here this morning.
So it looks like we have technology, which I'm super excited about because I was trying to figure out how I would duel with two sets of papers. So thank you for having me here today, Commissioners, and I really appreciate the opportunity to share with you some of the recommendations and findings from our final report. Our journey with you started over a year ago, and it started with us sitting down and talking with the Board of Commission at that point in time and the leadership, including the county manager and the assistant county manager, Hart, to talk about how to implement the work that you all had charged us in doing. Next slide, please. So first wanted to review with you what the scope of work was and what the charge was that you as commissioners gave us in conducting our assessment. And it was to effectively look at the responsibilities of a consolidated human services board and to help you all through orientation and to create an understanding of the programs and services and responsibilities that you would have as commissioners, also serving as a human services board. You asked us to evaluate what was working effectively and what could be improved at social services from a process perspective. I want to make clear and help everyone to understand we were not looking at programs for compliance and monitoring of services. We were looking at processes, relationships, and the carrying out of the duties and responsibilities. So a distinct difference there. We were not looking at cases individually to determine whether things were done right or wrong in a case. We were looking at what are the processes that Person County has in place in order to effectively and accurately administer the programs and services for which they are charged in administering. And we were charged with identifying opportunities for agency integration. Now that you are a consolidated human services agency, now that you have some flexibilities in how you organize the work and how you administer the programs, where there are opportunities to enhance that administration by looking at relationships with other county agencies, et cetera, in order to support that administration. So that was our charge. Next slide, please. So how did we do this work? I think this is really important because while it was our work, it was your community's work. Because we took that scope of work and we took it into the agency, we took it to community service providers, we took it to nonprofit agencies, we took it to other county leaders, and we asked them what could be done differently, what's working, what's not working, what are the opportunities. So it's our facilitated work, but much of what you're going to hear this morning came from the residents of Person County, be it the people that are receiving services and or the relationships with community services providers. In doing that work, we engaged with 35 group and individual interviews with 81 community partners. So it's everybody from early childhood education to hospitals and to others who are providing services along the continuum of care for all age groups. We looked at data, reports, budgets, assessments that were done by various state offices, and we looked at monitorings and audits, including your single county audit, to glean anything that we could from those reports that would help inform the work that we were doing. If you're familiar with Lean, you know that that's a process by which you work with individuals to say, walk us through exactly what you do and how you administer these services. And so I am Lean certified through the College of Engineering at NC State University and have been doing this kind of work for going on 10 years now. And I will tell you, there is so much to learn about processes, because when you talk to people and they tell you what they do, they often miss a lot of critical steps because it's so innate and it's so natural to them, usually because they've been doing it for so long. When we are able to get in there and say, stop and let's talk about this process and tell me a little bit more about why you're doing it, how you're doing it, who you're engaging in doing it, you really begin to be able to dig deep into, what and why people are doing things. And oftentimes people will step back and go, hadn't really thought about that way until just now. So that was an important part of our work, and one of the more time-consuming parts of the work, because it really does require you to go into the agency and to really walk alongside of the people who are doing the work. Next slide. So the activities that we conducted, I've already mentioned a few of these in explaining what the methodology was. We're very thankful for you all and your time, because many of you engaged with us in individual interviews a number of times to help us to better understand your perspectives and what you saw as strengths and opportunities for systems improvement, and how you would like to leverage the consolidated model. We talked with a diverse group of community stakeholders. We held an open forum for public comments in which we had good attendance right here in this building. We designed and conducted a comprehensive client assessment. That assessment was out in the community for well over a month for them to be able to complete the survey. We put the assessment with the help of Assistant County Manager Hart and Director Paler. We were able to, and many community providers, we had the survey available in both electronic and written format in your libraries, at your parks and recreations, here in this building, in your office here. We had it available at social services. We had it available with any community provider that would welcome the survey, and had community providers who assisted individuals in completing that survey. I told you about the data that we looked at, and of course, we facilitated many working sessions with you all in order to review all the programs, especially the mandated programs that are administered by social services, in order to dig deeper into what you all will need to know and work with as you develop budgets and long-term strategies and plans for the programs administered at social services. Next slide. So what were some of the themes that came out of this work? One of the themes that was most notable for us was the commitment to the consolidated human services agency model, and the good questions and the opportunities that you all saw, and county leadership, meaning all the various county departments that we engaged with, saw as opportunities for improvements with the consolidated model, and your commitment to implementing the model in an effective and efficient way. We observed that the county leadership and program staff were engaged and committed to quality and timely services. No matter who we were talking with, line staff, supervisors, program administrators, managers, everyone saw that as their primary responsibility, is to do what you need to do to get benefits and services out the door timely, efficiently, and with best quality that we can offer. We documented that clients, nonprofit community agencies, and service providers are generally satisfied with the services that social services offers. Where there were areas for improvement, they were really almost always directed toward access and responsiveness. We did hear a number of times about needing to get up with someone and the lapse in time that could take in order to get to the right person, or to be able to receive answers answers around what your inquiry was. And that was across the board, across the agency, whether it's economic services and those programs that have time frames attached to them, like FNS and Medicaid, or whether it was in your services area where individuals are seeking placement for a person that needs out-of-home placement or in-home services, or in the child welfare arena. We did document and highlight that service awareness and coordination throughout the community and within county government could be improved. We would relate a lot of that to how busy the organization and the agency is, that oftentimes the priority of attending community meetings or community boards or going to task force meetings and or having a presence at a committee or a commission would take a second seat to direct service delivery. And that does impact relationships. It also impacts your knowledge and your ability to serve in the community, and finding that balance is something that I know Assistant County Manager Hart has paid close attention to when he mentioned those quarterly meetings that they have instituted to help support that. Next slide, please. So this is a summation again of what we learned from you and what measured our recommendations and the activities and the recommendations that we thought were most important based on what we heard from you. And I thought this was really important to kind of ground us before we go into those recommendations. It was your desire to create a more coordinated and integrated approach to human services. You are all committed to quality services and have a good understanding of what quality looks like and what that means. Your interest in recommendations that adhere to best practices, your yearning to understand how other counties are organized, how other counties manage the work, and your interest in solid practice that creates good results. You asked us to make sure that we were hearing from the residents in the community, and that they felt like they had good access to services and to service design. We sought opportunities, and you asked us to seek opportunities to encourage stronger community involvement and understanding, and that was based on some feedback that you all were getting from the community, and you wanted to know how you could better care for staff and if there were any resources or gaps in resources that staff needed in order to provide quality services. So these recommendations are all centered around those desires that we heard from you. Next slide, please. So the first thing that we did is, as we went through our work and we gleaned opportunities for improvements, we categorized our improvements. Many of the things that we found in the organization were low to no cost, and they were simply refining a procedure or adopting a process or looking at a standard operating procedure or getting someone to attend certain quarterly meetings in the community, et cetera, et cetera. And all of those were communicated back to both the social services director and the assistant county manager with very quick debriefings each time that we were on site, and it culminated in a report to them that is also attached as an addendum to your report. These early wins do not require action of the commissioners. They are things that leadership, and that doesn't mean you can't get involved, but they are things that staff can very easily implement and can do without additional resources. We found 6 opportunities in the area of collaboration. Collaboration is a category that we used. If you look at that addendum, it's around relationships with your hospital, relationships with your sheriff's department, relationships with other service providers, and things that would enhance and improve the quality of services in this community. We found opportunities for improvements in the area of service access, how residents of the county actually access services. There are transportation barriers, there are barriers with working families, and the hours being 8 to 5 when that's a traditional work hour for many of the residents of this community. So we highlighted some opportunities to tweak some things, if you will, within the agency that would improve service access. We identified community engagement as an opportunity for improvement, and there were 4 early wins that we identified there. Those are opportunities to get into the community and to educate people around the services that you provide. You can have opportunities to share what eligibility for certain programs are, to recruit foster parents or kinship caregiver providers, et cetera, et cetera. There were 17 areas of noted improvement in administration, and then across the programs, we also had some early wins noted. 2 for child support, of which 50% of those are already done because 1 got done within several weeks of our pointing out something that would enhance an opportunity there for them. Economic supports, which is F&S, Medicaid, and your energy programs, as well as child care and Work First. We identified 6 opportunities. Within child welfare, there were 11, and within adult services, there were 4. And for details of those, again, you can look in the addendum of the report because we did share with you what those early wins were. Next slide, please. So some of the highlights and recommendations that we made that could result in your directing a plan to be created to carry out some of these recommendations. Many of these, most of these, all of these, pretty much with a few exceptions of resources, are things that are activities and recommendations that can be led through social services and through your assistant, through your human services director or assistant county manager for human services. One is to really prioritize social services engagement on community boards and committees. This increases awareness about programs and services. It gives you the opportunity to share what your processes are so that people can better understand responsibilities and roles and what a social services agency can do and can't do based on its mandates, et cetera. So a real missed opportunity not to have some consistent representation and the right people attending the community boards and committees. So we really think that is huge for this county. To consider co-locating county services at community partner sites to increase access and participation. This can be as simple as looking at your capacity to have someone at a hospital, at a senior center, even next door at the hospital, because when you co-locate with other service providers, you also learn more intentionally about how things operate there, what happens. They learn more about your programs and services, and any of those learnings promote increases in quality and understanding for the services and programs that you provide. Ongoing training to grow leadership opportunities and to improve awareness. I think there's a good focus in the organization around the program knowledge, knowing what Medicaid is, how to determine eligibility, et cetera. But we saw some really good opportunities for leadership training, and that would be at the program manager, supervisor, program administrator level, and director level. Just to be able to grow their understanding and knowledge about other ways to do work, and to stay crisp in those areas, and to not make the assumption that because something is not broken that it can't be improved. And so good opportunities there for that level of growth. Expand the intentional use of intra-agency employee operational and functional teams. We saw significant improvements in the HR processes as a result of consolidation, where you have people who have a lens from HR, people who have a program lens, just bringing those knowledges together, which you have a greater opportunity to do under the consolidated model, really can enhance service delivery. It can enhance your business practices and your processes because you've got those dual lens in there. And we saw some really good immediate positive things happening as a result of those relationships being formed. Those relationships can exist in the areas of fiscal and budget, in the areas of IT, and I think some opportunities for some IT realignment have already happened. But those are important infrastructures for carrying out the administration of all these programs. And it's oftentimes very difficult for a leader such as myself, who has a lens into all the programs, to also know what's best practice in IT, what's best practice in HR, what's best practice in fiscal, and to have that coordinated, consolidated model where you can pull on all those different disciplines will and should create a better product for the county. So, and some of that work has already begun. Some enhancements to facility design. Congratulations on the purchase of the building. The building does limit, the inside design of the building does limit communications. It limits access. The building is full. It's at capacity for sure. And it's a design that is challenging sometimes. So we did talk about even moving some people around in the building. The traditional model of having all eligibility sit together and having all of services sit together is a model that many people think is important because of confidentiality and those kinds of things. But adult Medicaid workers and adult services workers really have strong needs to be together and to have good communications and relationships. And so we just talked with leadership about thinking about different models of organization within the agency in order to improve some business processes and some service delivery opportunities. And lastly, we've talked about the early wins. So next slide, please. Some first steps in implementing many of the recommendations that we have for you all is you've taken the most major of the first steps. You have a human services director that has really been working, again, on a lot of those early wins and establishing himself as a person that is responsible for the social and human services programs through the county. Next slide, please. What we would encourage you as commissioners to do in adopting this report and reviewing the recommendations is you may want to move forward with asking your human services director to create an implementation plan around any of the recommendations that you want to move forward with, so that you can have someone who is leading that effort. While many of the things may be done through the social services leadership, you would have a conduit back to you with that HS director leading that implementation plan. There would need to be some flexibility, and we just put this in the report as a caveat. Recommendations can change and need to be tweaked over time. So while we may have a recommendation in the report that says one thing for right now today, there could be policy implications, staff implications, etc., that would cause that recommendation to need to be tweaked in some way. Would be to give the HS director the opportunity to come back with some of those recommendations and fine-tune them moving forward. And if you so choose to have an implementation plan to move forward, our recommendation would be that you hear periodic reports as the Human Services Board on how those actions and activities are going and what he's been able to be successful at and what maybe needs to be rethought and reconsidered. Next steps. For future considerations, in light of many of the recommendations that we had in the report, we do believe this is an overwhelming amount of work to be done. It is one where, based on the feedback that we got from the community around the larger sort of infrastructure and process opportunities that this board may benefit from having a human services advisory board where you could bring in disciplines, individuals who really understand the justice involved juveniles in your community, who really understand the medical needs of individuals in your community, who really understand the housing needs of individuals. You know, all those social determinants of health, and having representatives that your social services agency can lean on for their expertise to help them see things from a different perspective in terms of policy implementation and opportunities for improvements and enhancements that are specific to Person County. And then that advisory board could help you to do some of the, for lack of a better word, sort of the background work, the boots on the ground work, that then elevate those recommendations from the agency and from that board to you all for consideration. With busy schedules and many departments, and as large as social services is, there could be some benefit in having an advisory board. And obviously, if you do an advisory board, there would need to be some training around their duties and responsibilities, because an advisory board looks different than a social services board. Next slide, please. And we just want to thank you for the opportunity. I led this effort. Ravella Nesbitt, who you met several times, she was your boots on the ground with many of your community partners and was our leader in helping with the focus groups as a clinical social worker and a person who has many trainings in facilitation and community work. She was very beneficial. And you met with Rebecca Troutman several times, who was our statistician, our data, our technical expert in helping us to make sure that we were mining all the information accurately. And we also had behind the scenes a couple of our accountants and legal consultants that worked with us to do some research that were never on the ground but doing work for you all behind the scenes. Questions, concerns about the report, thoughts?
Any question from the board members?
I had one question about, it was page 123 in the report in the packet, I'm not sure. But it's the chart that shows the budgetary impacts of the employee reclassification and reinvestment. That was a recommendation of you all.
That was the reclassification of the income maintenance caseworker. Yes, that was a recommendation that we had.
So what would be the difference between those two positions? Or is it basically the same duties? Why is it that we get such a greater percentage of reimbursement through that?
So you have a couple of people in the agency that are considered administrative staff. They're non-program. They do certain duties and responsibilities up to a point, and then they cannot do program activities because of their classification. There are some things that they could do, some processes that they could do that would enhance their work, take work off of the caseworkers. They're quite capable of doing this work through our interviews and through our assessments. In fact, this is one of those areas when we took it back to the leadership team at Social Services, they had actually looked at the possibility of doing this work in prior years and moving some duties and responsibilities. When a program such as Medicaid, and I believe that's the one that's in the report, not having it in front of me, but a program like Medicaid reimburses individuals who work directly in the program at a 75-25 reimbursement rate, which is higher than an admin rate for someone who's setting up files and registering people, et cetera. The administrative rate on that is usually slightly lower than 50%. It's usually somewhere 47, 46, 49. It depends upon what you've got in your cost allocation plan versus your indirect cost plan.
So that reclass, the savings were per position?
Yes.
And are there multiple ones of these in the department?
There were 3 or 4.
Those are positions, not multiple. There are 3 positions listed there. So the department has submitted the paperwork to HR to do these reclassifications of those positions.
Okay.
Yeah. And what you have to think about in social services is you have a variety of different programs and services administered by that program, and they have different federal guidance that supports those programs. And child support says if you're doing work for child support, your reimbursement rate is this. If you're doing work for Medicaid, your reimbursement rate is this. Each program has a different reimbursement rate. That's why that budget becomes so complicated at social services, is you have to not only decide what a person's doing, but who they're doing it for and who benefits.
Well, thank you for your work on this, and in talking about the appointment of the advisory board, in one of your earlier presentations, you shared a map of what the different counties across the state do, and the county manager had shared with us that in an interactive version, and we were really quite unique in Person County in having the Board of Commissioners as the board without that advisory board or another board in there in between. So I appreciate that recommendation as well.
Absolutely.
I had a question too, maybe for Brian, but I don't know if any other commissioners had questions for me.
Any other questions? All right, Brian?
I just wondered, I know y'all have been doing a lot more community outreach, and there's been some things that have been going on maybe quarterly in the auditorium. What are some other ways that the early wins are being implemented and tracked?
Yeah, so just one clarification about the quarterly meetings. We've hosted them. The first one was actually held in the FEMA room at the DSS, at the Department of Social Services, in the Health and Human Services building. And then the second one was held in the auditorium, and we intend to kind of, be mobile and go to other venues across the county to make it more accessible. As it relates to those early wins and those recommendations, myself, Director Paylor, his Deputy Director Christy Perry, and Human Services Evaluator Ashley Stone, we've set up a bi-weekly meeting where we're going to kind of explore those recommendations more in depth and talk about the ways in which we can, implement them and chart them out for the community. So the first kind of notable one was, again, the Huddle Up with Human Services quarterly meeting. And then, as I mentioned previously, the kind of reconfiguration of the department. I called out the Human Services Evaluator reporting directly to me. That was not the only notable shift or change that we've made with the departmental structure. Director Paylor can potentially speak to others, but we've also, among his program managers, we've kind of distributed the departments a little bit, or the divisions a little differently, so that those program managers have kind of an equal amount of direct reports, which we think helps them manage the workload a little bit and also be more attentive to, morale and the environment within the department. So it's a heavy lift. There are a lot of layers to it, but we are actively working towards, just improving things bit by bit.
What has the participation been like in those huddle-up sessions?
Yeah, so initially we had the first one we had representation from the school system. At the second one, which was just a couple of weeks ago, we had representation from VIA. We had the school system present, and we had about 10 participants who were not a part of the persons planning and organizing the event, and so we're excited about the prospect to continue to grow participation there. Yes.
And as we talk about the running out of space over there, has there been any discussion about the co-location?
Yeah, that's there are discussions around. When you say co-location, are you talking about?
When she was recommending, it may be more efficient to have someone at the hospital or those different areas where there's overlap.
Yeah, so we haven't really begun to explore those conversations in depth yet, but what I will say, kind of echoing what Ms. Brasher mentioned, we had the survey, the community survey, physical copies of it, print copies available at different community sites, and those community sites we believe will make for good partners to potentially explore co-location opportunities. So again, the senior center being one, the hospitals of course being another. So we're certainly not closed off to that. I've worked in other counties where I've seen co-location of services happen very successfully. So You know, we're excited about all of these recommendations and the work therein to get them done. So, yes,
Thank you.
absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
All right. Item 8B, fiscal year budget ordinance, Manager Catherine and Tracy Clayton.
Okay. Well, good morning, Commissioners. We are now at the point in the process that you all will adopt your budget for fiscal year '26. We have spent many, many months getting to this point, going back to November when we began preparing the budget calendar and all the documents associated with the budget process. Your calendar has been in place since the beginning of December, and we've worked through many steps together. So the most recent was the budget work session that you held on on June 6th, where you made your adjustments to the manager's recommended budget. And you do have a spreadsheet in your agenda packet which shows the changes that were made. So based on those amendments, the fiscal year '26 budget totals $1,108,823,546, and this is a decrease of $178,916 from the manager's recommended budget. This sets the property tax rate at 63 cents, with the fire and rescue tax district rate at 4 cents for fiscal year '26. You do have a budget ordinance included in your agenda packet to consider for adoption today. I will note that the one addition is highlighted in yellow in section 30, and that is an addition to the county manager's authorizations for the upcoming fiscal year. As you may recall, you have received some agenda items throughout the current fiscal year related to many Brooks Act exemptions, and this provides a provision that those can be approved throughout the year at the county manager level in writing. So I would document any exemption that's approved for design services for the file for that particular project without that needing to come before the board. So that additional language is highlighted in the ordinance, and otherwise the ordinance aligns with provisions that have been set in the past and incorporates any amendments that you made during the work session to the manager's recommended budget and prepares you for adoption of the fiscal year '26 budget. And I do want to thank everyone's efforts in working through this process, the board working along with staff. This is our Chief Financial Officer, Tracy Clayton's first budget, and she has to be commended for her efforts, especially since her department has been short-staffed through this process. But Katrina Fields has also played a large role, as well as we have benefited from the assistance of our retired Chief Financial Officer, Amy Warenberg, who has been working alongside us as well. And of course, all the departments who were very attentive to making their budget requests and then working with us to cut back on those as necessary. So we feel very confident that you now have a budget in front of you that will carry forth your priorities into the next fiscal year. So we'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
Board members have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I have comments about similar to what you said, going back to when the process started. And I would go back to our budget retreat in February, where we passed a resolution to support the act to extend the elderly or disabled property tax homestead exclusion, despite the Association of County Commissioners urging counties not to support any bills that were going to reduce tax revenues to counties. So we did take that step at our next meeting. We also, at that time, requested a peer review of the reappraisal process to give the public confidence that it was done accurately. Through the tax office, we held workshops to assist citizens with how to assess their tax card and how to appeal. We basically held a forum in the auditorium where we had additional presentations about what was causing the tax values to increase, and we heard from citizens during an extended public comments time where we thanked citizens for being engaged and asked them to remain engaged because we would need to be hearing from them about what services they wanted to cut if we were to adopt a revenue neutral budget. And so the budget public hearing The budget was available to the public. We had the budget public hearing at one of our recent meetings, and that is where the public gets the opportunity to come and say, here's what we want to see in a budget, and here's what is not as important to us. And we only had one person to come to that meeting and sign up. Her comment was that she was fine with a tax increase, but she wanted to see increased services. So we also despite, I guess it's more sensational to have a headline that says we only lowered it 1 cent, but we actually lowered it more than 10 cents if you are in the part of the county that is part of the fire tax district. So what happens when we start to get too low is that we hear from departments that we're not able to keep staff, we're not able to perform services. And so that ends up costing the county more when we have this cycle of trying to fill positions at lower rates than the counties around us. So I also appreciate everybody's work to get us to where we were. We tried to be mid-range between what the tax rate is now and what revenue neutral would be, and we ended up on the lower end of that. So I'm always pleased at how anything we can do, but we are between the two actually carrying out the services that the public needs, public safety, education, and then trying to provide a competitive tax rate for our citizens.
Are we getting ready to lead up to approving the budget?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, I came in at the 11th hour, so I've got
Yes, sir.
I've got a couple of questions for the county manager and for our financial person. So we have 3 different indices that we look at to get an average for your COLA every year, right? Your cost of living.
Yes, that's correct.
And then we have a merit increase too, the 1% or 2%.
It's 2% or 3% based on performance. So meets expectations is at 2% and exceeds is 3%.
Okay, so we're assuming everybody's going to at least get a 2% merit increase.
If they are meeting the performance standards for their
Well, if
position,
they're not
yes.
meeting the performance standards, they shouldn't be an employee any longer in my estimation, okay? That's just how I look at it as a business person.
Right. Would you like for me to respond to that as far as, I mean, we have a performance process in place, so if someone is not meeting expectations, then there's a performance improvement plan that's put into place, and there's a process to bring that employee up to meeting standards, and if not, then there's a disciplinary process that could ultimately result in the termination of that employee.
Okay, so on an annual average, between either a 2% or a 3%, where are we falling pretty much every year on an annual average of the merit pay going up? Overall,
We budget at 2.5%.
Can you come up to the podium, please?
It varies year to year, and we budget at 2.5% so that we fall right in the middle with the merit.
Okay, so our COLA this year is how much percent?
3.3%.
So we're looking at basically about a little bit over 5.5% on average for every employee's salary going up. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Okay, so with all the county salaries, Sheriff's Department, DSS, Health Department, Rec Board, Rec Department, what is our total number for salaries?
I would have to go and get that for you. It's
Well,
in
just
your
kind of
budget
off the
book.
top of your head.
I
I'm not.
can't off the top of my head give that to you.
I'm trying to get at a number that we're kind of looking at, that we know in 12 months we're going to be looking at. That's going to have to be a dollar amount that we're going to have to budget in for an increase.
If you'd like, I can get that and come back to you.
Okay, because I'm trying to figure out how many cents we're looking at having to go up again next year just to keep up with salaries, not the price of toilet paper or electricity or anything else going up, insurance, retirement. I'm just trying to look at that.
So we could probably, I mean, we could do some projections on that as far as what that base is and what that would likely build upon for next year, but there is quite a bit of unknown there. You're also going to have growth in your tax base. There's natural growth in the tax
certainly
base,
hope
so
so.
that affects the value of a penny. So then that directly affects what you can fund within a penny. So, you know, we can make that calculation on the current penny, but that penny value is likely to be different next year. We will recalculate what the cost of living adjustment would be for the next fiscal year based on what those factors look like over the next 12 months. In addition, the retirement system through the state of North Carolina tells us what the employer contribution is year to year. So we will not have that information until it becomes available in the spring. So there's growth there to be expected in the new year, but there will not be a way to accurately calculate at this point what that is, what that would mean in terms of how that factors into the taxes. And then, of course, there's the component of the budget for operations and how that complements personnel and how those values either increase or decrease depending upon the needs of departments in the school system. So all that, of course, plays into what that tax rate will look like for next year too.
Okay, so I don't plan to just mark time in this seat while I'm in it. I want to make some contributions and bring something to the table. And to me, running the Board of Commissioners, running the county, is you're running a business. And so when you run a business, you do have to look ahead. I know you can't know exactly where you're going to be, but you've got to plan ahead. And you've got to look at, number one, you've got to be able to sustain those increases in your salary. And then you've got to look at what we're doing to grow our tax base. And I don't see anything in this budget where we're setting aside $3, $4, $5 million to buy any land to come up with an industrial park that we don't have anymore. We don't have any industrial park. The counties around us do, and they're regular landing projects, and that's how we got to grow our tax base. When we grow our tax base, then your tax rate can go down. And I want to continue on what Mr. Puryear has been doing, Chairman Puryear, and my good friend Eugene Berryhill when he ran. His tagline was, he's representing the taxpayer, and that's my intention, is to represent the taxpayer. So that's just some of the concerns I have about where we are with the budget. So, thank you.
Thank you.
One thing, no, you're right.
And what I would like to add, of course, I would prefer revenue neutral. Again, as all of us up here, we should be representing the taxpayers because we're residents of Person County as well. And at the same time, with whatever what our budget is looking like, what we have here, we also want taxpayers to feel that what they're paying into the community is also paying it back to them. Like they're investing into Person County, and Person County should be investing into their citizens as well. Also, when we look at bringing industry here and growing our tax base, what I noticed traveling the state is those industries and companies that are going to these other counties, they're looking at counties who are also investing into their residents. So if they're bringing a company here and they're recruiting employees, people are moving here, these people want something to do. They want to feel like the community cares about them. And that's one thing I've heard. And I do talk and ask, the community, like, oh, how are you all able to do those things? So even though I know revenue neutral is not where we're going to be, but as leaders in the community, I feel that, I believe that if, we have set this, our budget, that the people who entrusted us to be in these seats also know that we care about them and their needs. And, we all want the community to grow. We wouldn't be up here if we didn't care about Person County in our own way. But they're entrusting us to make sure we're making the right decisions, not just for them, but for their children, their grandchildren, so that, people will want to be here. So I want industry to come and all of that, but at the same time, they're looking at how we're treating our schools, how we're treating our residents. So I just want us to remember that and be cognizant of that when we're making decisions, particularly with budget and how make sure our taxpayers believe that we are taking to heart, what they care about while they're here as well. So I just want us to be cognizant of that in making our decisions and also when we're looking at increasing our tax base, just making sure we know that folk around know that we are caring about our residents as well. We're not just throwing numbers out, but of course, I know we can't do revenue neutral. That's what I would prefer. But what the monies that we have, that we're making sure we're investing correctly back into the community.
Well, I'll also say that the city held their budget public hearing this past Tuesday night, and they also had no citizens to show up, which they commented about during their meeting. But one thing I heard the manager say during that presentation was that in their purchasing policy, they do have a policy that city staff is directed to support local businesses. So we talked about that in the budget work session, and I think if we don't have that in place, we should also have that in place for the county.
I have a note to go back and look at that, and see how we may incorporate some references and expectations.
All right. Any further comments? Haven't heard none. Do I have a motion to adopt the fiscal year 26 budget ordinance?
So moved.
We have a motion. Any discussion? Haven't heard none. All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion's been approved.
Okay, thank you very much.
Item 8C, Golden Leaf Community Based Grants Initiative, County Manager.
Okay, well, this item is for you to receive some information on this Golden Leaf initiative. The Golden Leaf Foundation has funding available within the North Central Prosperity Zone, of which Person County is a part. They will be making, I believe the total is $11 million worth of grants over the remainder of this year or early next year. And we have the opportunity as a county to put forward 4 potential projects for their consideration. Within the county, we can receive up to $1.5 million for projects which support economic development opportunities within Person County. So we can, as a county, again, endorse up to 4 projects totaling $2 million. Again, only $1.5 million in funding will be awarded. And one project could receive $1.5 million, or that $1.5 million could be distributed amongst 3 projects. And we're not guaranteed that maximum amount, but that is the maximum amount. So the Golden Leaf process is set up that county managers designate a process to put forth this list. So within your agenda packet, I have outlined, first I included slides from Golden Leaf that explains more about this funding opportunity that they have. And then I outlined a process for us as a county to proceed with to develop the list of recommended projects. So the timeline for doing so would be for you as a Board of Commissioners to adopt this process during today's meeting. And then we would work along with our Public Information Officer and Economic Development staff to share this information with the community as far as the opportunity that exists. Project worksheets would be due back to Brandy Lynch, who's our Economic Development Director, who would be the primary point of contact, by July 21st. And Golden Leaf does have a project worksheet that they developed, so that was included in your packet as far as the information that we would be receiving from organizations who are interested in applying for funding. Then we would share, staff would share those worksheets with Golden Leaf and get some feedback. They will hold meetings with county managers on August 9th and 14th to provide feedback on the proposed projects. We would then incorporate that feedback into a report and take the projects to the Economic Development Commission at their regularly scheduled meeting on August 26th. For additional review and feedback, and then bring that report back to the commissioners on September 2nd for y'all to approve a list of projects to submit to Golden Leaf. The final list of projects must be submitted to Golden Leaf by September 8th, so the timeline fits in with that Golden Leaf deadline. And then once our list is to Golden Leaf, which can include up to 4 projects, then those entities would need to complete a more detailed application for Golden Leaf, and that would need to be done by November 20th. November through January, Golden Leaf reviews the applications and conducts their due diligence, and then makes decisions regarding funding in February of 26. So these materials were included in your agenda packet. I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have, but that is my proposal for how we as a county accept potential projects for consideration to go to Golden Leaf for, in turn, their consideration for funding.
So I would say this, this packet, all the parts, the slides, the worksheets and everything need to go out to the EDC today, because they meet next Tuesday, in order for them to provide feedback about the worksheets that need to be into Brandy by July 21st.
So the worksheets would be completed by the applicants July 21st. So anybody who is putting projects forth for consideration would complete a worksheet by the 21st. So you're saying for the Economic Development Commission to consider whether or not the EDC wants to put forth projects. Yes, so we will be communicating out all of that this week. So yes, this information will go to the EDC.
Is there any reporting still going on for the last Golden Leaf grant that we got for North Park?
No, that grant has been closed out.
So there weren't any markers to keep, because I know it's about job creation and investments.
The grant has been closed out. I believe that we have given them all the information that they need. Their primary point of contact for that is Brandy as well. So it's possible that there's an expectation for additional reporting, but I believe that they've gotten all the information they need for that grant.
Any further questions for the county manager? All right, having here none, do I have a motion to approve the application process and begin with soliciting project proposals?
So moved.
We have a motion. Any further discussion? Having here none, all in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it, motion's approved. Item 8D, appointments to boards and committees. Madam Clerk.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Chairman. Good morning, Commissioners. Today, I want to present to you solicited volunteers for boards and committees. For this process, we did advertise in the Roxborough Courier-Times dated May 15th, 2025, as well as the Person County Government webpage and on our social media Facebook page, with the deadline of submittals to be in my office no later than noon on June the 6th, 2025. I respectfully request the board nominate and appoint as deemed appropriate for the following boards that I will be presenting. And just to note, it is a duty and responsibility of the Board of Commissioners, and you're encouraged as board members to recruit citizens to fill current vacancies for those that no applications were received for. All right, so the first board that we have is the ABC Board. So with that, there is one position available. We did receive 3 applications for appointment. The first one, they're all going to be in alphabetical order. The first one, Douglas Brown II, request appointment. Hunt Fitzgerald, request appointment. And Michael Laws, request reappointment. 3 applications, 1 position. May I ask the desire of the board?
I make a motion to appoint Mr. Longs.
That's a reappointment, right?
It's a reappointment. He's served that board for many years and is very dedicated to that board. All right. Any other? All right. All in favor of the motion, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it, motion's approved.
Thank you. The next one is the Board of Adjustment. We have 1 position available and also a position for an alternate, which makes that 2 positions. We received 3 applications. Steve Evans, request appointment. Hunt Fitzgerald, request appointment. And Gerald Wallace, request appointment. May I please ask the desire of the board?
I've got a comment. I could have said it before we started, but that one was a long time reappointment. So, where are we with the training of the advisory boards? Because as Ms. Bratcher said before, there's a big difference in an advisory board, and they need guidance on what their roles are and how to carry those out. I know that there was a
Right, that
new
is.
initiative in place about getting that done.
Yeah, so that is not something that we have done previously. We did the training with the board liaisons, but have not gotten together the advisory board training yet. It's still something that we intend to do, but has not been at the top of the list more recently. But we will continue to work on that and get some training out.
Well, the reason I bring that up, there's a couple of boards that I have concerns with about going outside of the scope of the role, or kind of taking the authority of the position and using it in different ways. So I can address that as we get to those boards. As for the Board of Adjustment, I think they haven't met in 5 years.
It's been in excess of 5 years.
So has there been any communication with the existing members that they would want to continue on that board?
There is one longtime member. She also currently serves on the planning board. She's not due for reappointment, but I have no contact with her. I haven't had any contact with her. And the board actually appointed, I'm not sure if it was the current board, they did appoint to the Board of Adjustment one individual within the past couple of months, and then we had a couple that were appointed last year in 2024.
Okay.
So none
So
of
they're
those
fairly
members
recent.
have served as, a member, because there has been no meeting.
Okay, but it's not like they were on there 5 years ago and nobody's talked to them since?
Right,
Okay.
correct.
So with that, I would request to appoint Hunt Fitzgerald and Steve Evans as the alternate.
All right. We have a motion. Any discussion? All right. All in favor of the motion, please vote by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it, motion's approved.
Thank you. The next one is the Board of Health. We have 2 positions, one for a dentist and one for an optometrist. We have Dr. Steve Garrett and Dr. Jeff Noblet, who reapplied. You can do those motions individually, or you can group them as one at the desire of the board, your discretion.
I would say, board, let's vote on both of them at the same time. Okay. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
All right, we have a motion. All in favor of the motion, vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Ayes have it. Position's been appointed.
All right, thank you. The next one is a new board. This was brought to the board in 2024 for the Child Fatality Local Team. That board had got put on hold until July 1. I do not know the status of that board. However, we do have one position that someone applied for, so I would like to present that in case that board is given the authority from the state to move forward. So that is for child fatality. There's 3 positions: local law enforcement officer, a medical emergency service provider or firefighter, or a parent, and a parent whose child died before the child reached age 18. We received one application for someone in law enforcement, Zach Lachetti, request appointment.
Do I have a motion from the board?
Motion to approve.
All right, motion to approve. All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it, motion's approved.
Thank you. The next one is the Environmental Issues Advisory Committee. That particular committee has one position for a citizen residing in each of the following townships: Allensville, Olive Hill, and the Woodsdale. We only received one application. That was for the Allensville Township, which is a reappointment. Mr. Bob Brower requests reappointment. May I please ask the desire of the board?
Okay, this is one of the ones that I had concerns about. So it was brought to my attention a few things, that there was a tent at the personality that was set up to represent this board, and there were no MEC signs being presented at the tent. And so that it was directly in opposition to something that the Board of Person County Commissioners had supported. And there's been other things raised to me about other projects that the county has supported that the member has shared with the board, communications from groups in opposition to those projects. So that's my concern. We have this one person who's applied, who's the chairman. I believe there's been conversations with him about some of those things. I know we have not had a commissioner representative on that board for some time, and Commissioner Long is appointed to serve on that board. So I'm okay to make this reappointment if the rest of the board wants to, knowing that we will have a commissioner there who will be monitoring that and, with that in mind, but I wanna bring that up. We talked about before the org chart and how it doesn't really make sense for efficient government if we are appointing people to advisory boards that are, using their position on that board to oppose things, and, personally and privately, that's fine, but as using the board position to do that, it's just inefficient.
What's the decision of the board?
To reappoint, Robert Brower, and as Commissioner Wilburn said, that now the county will have representation on the board.
All right, we have a motion. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, vote by saying aye. Those opposed? No. Motion's tabled.
Thank you. The next board is to JCPC.
And Madam Clerk,
I'm sorry, yes, sir.
please note that delay that motion until Commissioner Thomas has returned.
Yes, sir, noted.
Thank you.
The next board is the JCPC. With that board, as you all aware, that is a very huge board, so I do have multiple reappointments or positions available. So with that one, I would ask the board, once I do read them, if they would do a motion for each individual, please. The first one is we have a position available for a citizen under the age of 21. Then we also have the following positions available: juvenile defense attorney, substance abuse professional, a managed care organization representative, chief of police or designee, local health director or designee, a member of the business community, and a citizen at large. So we did receive multiple applications. So Joey Aguilera requests reappointment as a citizen at large. May I please ask the desire of the board?
All right, do I have a motion?
So moved.
All right.
David Aguilar.
All right, we have a motion.
We're doing that one separate. Are we doing them all separate?
For what I did receive, I guess maybe I should clarify, Mr. Aguilera is the only citizen that applied, and he's requesting reappointment in that citizen at large position.
Okay.
All right. All in favor of the motion, vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
The next one, Donald Fuqua requests appointment as a citizen under the age of 21, and he is the only application received for that category. May I please ask the desire of the board?
Make a motion to approve Mr. Fuqua.
All right, I have a motion. Any further discussion? All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. The ayes have it.
The next one, Mary Yates Perkins Gallarde requests appointment as a substance abuse professional. That position, she's the only one who I received an application for. May I please ask the desire of the board?
Motion to approve.
All right, we have a motion. All in favor of the motion, vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
The next one, Charles Harvey requests reappointment as a member of the business community. His is also the only application I received for that position as well.
Motion to appoint Charles Harvey.
So moved.
All right. All in favor of the motion, vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
The next one is Dr. Richard Johnson, requests reappointment as the local health director designee, and he's the only one from the health department that I received an application for.
All right, we have a motion.
So moved.
All right. All in favor of said motion, vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
The next one, Laura Sharp, requests reappointment as a managed care representative, and she's the only application received for this position.
Move to approve.
All right, we have a motion. All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Okay, the next one is the Library Advisory Board. There is one position available. One application was received. Catherine Greenwald requests appointment.
All right, do I have a motion?
So moved.
All right, all in favor of the motion, vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
The next one is for the PATS Transportation Advisory Board. There are multiple positions that are available. There's a position available for a City of Roxborough representative, a DSS representative, Emergency Operations Center Director, and Rural Planning Organization Director or designee. The following applications were received. Tim Chandler requests reappointment as the City of Roxborough representative. Diane Cox requests reappointment as Rural Planning Organization Director. Rosa Cruz requests reappointment as DSS representative. And Thomas Schwallenberg requests reappointment as Emergency Operations Center Director. No other applications were received. It's the desire of the board. However you want to do the motion, you can do one motion or you can do them individually.
Do I have a motion to approve all four?
So,
All right, we have a motion. Any discussion? Having heard none, all in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Motion's approved.
Thank you. The next one is the Person Caswell Lake Authority. There is one position available. We received 4 applications. Douglas Brown II request appointment. John Bird Sr. request appointment. Larry Coleman request appointment. And Lindsay Wagstaff III request reappointment. One position, 4 applications. May I please ask the desire of the board?
Motion to reappoint Lindsay Wagstaff III.
We have a motion. All right. All in favor of the motion, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you. The next one is the Piedmont Community College Board of Trustees. There is one position available. We received 3 applications. Douglas Brown II request appointment. Sherry Lester request appointment. And Adam Wolf request reappointment. May I please ask the desire of the board?
Motion to reappoint Adam Wolf.
All right. We have a motion. Any discussion? All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it.
Thank you. The next one is the Planning Board. There are 2 positions available. We received 4 applications. Sherry Lester, request appointment. Julie Maybe, request reappointment. April Short, request appointment. And Lindsay Wagstaff III, request appointment. 2 positions. May I please ask the desire of the board?
I move to appoint Julie Maybe and Sherry Lester.
Okay.
This
That's-
is
Go ahead.
one of the ones that I wanted to have discussion about, and I've shared with this board before that I attend the planning board meetings each month, and Commissioner Long, prior to being commissioner, has also been at a number of those. And we talked about in our org chart and our mission statement that one of our priorities is to catalyze economic development. And so that is one of the boards that is very important in our development process. So for a number of meetings now, they've had gridlock, they've gone on quite extensively. The the meeting, there was one last Thursday, but the month before that, they had two, applications that they were hearing. Each was represented by engineers, land use attorneys, well presented, and, you know, the discussion just kind of went on. I'll give you an example of when they were working on the UDO, and they came to the subject of RV parks and campgrounds, and there was a member who, was opposed to having those in the county, and the reason was that it may be people staying there who are construction workers staying for long periods of time with their families there, and their children might not be going to school. So it was, you know, kind of taking the planning board role into a truancy officer role. And I think that that's where our staff liaisons have to step in and say, you know, this is the scope of the role of the planning department, and this, you have to base what we're doing on, what's before you. And the last 2 or 3 meetings, it was brought up that development was inconsistent with the comprehensive land use plan, where the map was green, because that is rural. So I asked Michelle to print these maps that you have here, and it's actually the wrong one. This is the existing land use classifications, but it's pretty much the same for the land use map. And so everywhere that it's green would be an area. Here's another one where it's green and yellow stripes on mine, but that should be green. Would, based on that definition of it being rural and needing to stay undeveloped, would mean we should just close up and go home if we're not going to develop in these areas in green. And the comprehensive land use plan itself color codes the land classifications with the districts pretty similarly. Yellow is residential on both, green is rural on the land use map, but it's rural conservation for the zoning districts. And in the land use plan, it mentions 2 or 3 times in that section that the rural conservation classification allows for all land, all land use types. So it's actually meant to be very flexible and open to what is able to be developed. So this is a really important one for me, and we had made the appointment for Miss Maybe to fill in the role for 6 months for someone who resigned, and I would like to continue to use her for our stakeholder committees as we move forward. We have an interim director now who has a lot of experience, and with that, Ms. Lester, I see, is present, so she's hearing my comments and statements right now. And so I would like to make a substitute motion to appoint Lindsay Wagstaff and Sherry Lester.
Okay. We have a substitute motion for Sherry Lester and Lindsay Wagstaff, which supersedes the original motion by Commissioner Royster. All right. All in favor of the substitute motion for Sherry Lester and Lindsay Wagstaff, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay. The ayes have it. Motion's been approved.
Thank you. The next one is the Recreation Advisory Board. We have 2 positions available, and we received 4 applications, one of which I need to note is Commissioner Long. I've had the discussion with Mr. Long as a commissioner. He cannot be on a commissioner-appointed board, so I have retracted his application and did not submit that for approval. So we do have 2 positions available, 3 applications. Tabitha George requests reappointment, April Short requests appointment, and Sandy Wren requests appointment. May I please ask the desire of the board?
I'd like to move that we appoint Mr. Wren and reappoint Ms. George.
All right, we have a motion on the floor. Any further discussion?
I would like to recommend, April Short for one of those appointments, given that she's a parent with children involved in
Okay.
the rec department quite often.
Are you putting that in the form as a substitute motion?
Yes, it's a substitute motion, I'm
Okay.
sorry.
So we have a substitute motion on the floor for only April short for her appointment. Any further discussion? All in favor of the substitute motion, please vote by saying aye. Any opposed?
No.
The ayes, the nays have it. Back to the original motion by Commissioner Long for the appointment of Tabitha George and Samuel Wren. All in favor of said motion, please vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed?
No.
All right, the ayes have it. Motion's been approved.
Thank you. That concludes my presentation.
Okay. All right, Chairman's report. I will report to the board. I did attend a ribbon cutting service last week, and it was well attended by the chamber and citizens of the community, and also welcomed the crowd at Willow Oak for the start of the music festival this past Thursday at noon. So that was the mayor accompanied me with that. And it was a very attended event, very well attended event. So that's my report. County manager.
And we have a ribbon cutting coming up in partnership with the chamber. It's for the new playground across the street at Huck Sansbury. So please mark your calendars for June 26th at 5:30. We've already, every day I hear kids out there enjoying that new play structure. It's great to hear out in the nice summer days, having the kids out there enjoying that new ADA accessible playground. So we want to encourage all to take advantage of that, and also to come out to the ribbon cutting on June 26th.
What time is it?
5:30.
All right. Commissioner Wilburn?
The Board of Equalization and Review has continued to meet weekly. Last week, the manager and I spent the better part of Tuesday and Wednesday at the County Advocacy Days for the North Carolina Association of County Commissioners in Raleigh. We heard updates on legislative priorities, bills that were being tracked by the association affecting counties, and we met with Representative Jeffers and Senator Meyer about our local priorities and got some feedback from them about the budget process, which it sounds like they won't have one until later in the year. And also, as I mentioned, attended last week's planning board meeting.
Commissioner Royster?
So I attended the Person County Food Council meeting last Monday. It's a lot of that information shared. There were local farmers and other community stakeholders present. And I was looking for my flyer. Evidently, I did not bring it. But they will be hosting an event at South Elementary on June 15th from 10 to 12, where families can, and I will share that with you all. They sign up and they receive a box from local produce from Person County, meats, fresh fruits, vegetables, and it's for anyone who wants to do that. And we'll have other, they'll be sharing like healthy recipes and everything as well, and that's June 25th at South Elementary School from 10 to 12. Also, there will be a live after 5 on Friday, June 20th, and that will be held at Merritt Commons. And that's all that I have at this time.
Okay. Commissioner Long?
Nothing at this time, Chairman.
Okay. At this time, I will entertain a motion to go into closed session number 1 per Virginia Statute 143-318.11A3 for the purposes of consulting with the county attorney in order to preserve the attorney-client privileges in General Statute 143-318-11 to prevent the disclosure of information that is privileged or confidential with the following individuals permitted to attend: County Manager Catherine Cathy, Clerk of the Board Michelle Solomon, Assistant County Manager, Human Service Director Brian Hart, and County Attorney Al Andrews. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion. All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. The ayes have it. Motion is approved. We're now in closed session.
moved.
All right, with that, all in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The ayes have it. Meeting has been adjourned.